told you, I have killed someone. If you weren't here, you'd be in prison. Or worse. And you mutants are dangerous.
We know.
This place takes your greatest fear and makes you live through it.
Ooh, scary.
What are you doing?
Gotta get better someday.
Demon Bear! Let's play a game.
Mutants are dangerous. And they need to learn how to control your powers.
New movie, The New Mutants, in just 60 seconds.
Ready?
Go.
I play Danny, a young mutant who wakes up in a sketchy medical facility run by Dr. Reyes.
You're not alone, Danny.
Danny meets the other young mutants being monitored there. Rain, Ileana,
Roberto.
And Sam.
Dr. Reyes wants to help them understand their new powers.
So they have therapy sessions to discuss their haunted pasts.
What if I just want to go home?
Sam, you remember what happened?
Yeah, therapy. But then things get weird.
And they discover that they can't leave.
This isn't the hospital. It's a cage.
And as if being trapped in a creepy hospital isn't horrifying enough.
They have to face their fear when a sinister force invades. They start to question Dr. Reyes' motives.
You can live when I say so.
We're trapped in here with demons and you want us to stay trapped!
It only gets worse from there. Do they get answers?
Go see The New Mutants to find out.
Get tickets now.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel is still getting ready to try and release the New Mutants movie. As you can see, they're poking fun at themselves with a lot of those promos. We hope that it comes out August 28th. There's a bunch of big X-Men stuff coming up in the MCU, so we'll break it all down. If you're new to the channel, we're doing the giveaway for copies of Marvel's Avengers game. I'll name a new winner at the end of this. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know what you want them to do with these characters in the MCU if they want to bring them back. You can make all the jokes about Maisie Williams and all these other actors being so much older than when they actually filmed the movie years ago, but they're still young enough that they could come back in the MCU for a long, long time in new X-Men projects. But they dropped a bunch of new footage with them explaining their characters. Most people are at least a little bit familiar with the New Mutants in general. The story of this movie is a loose adaptation of that very first story of them coming together as a team and fighting Demon Bear. They call it the Demon Bear Saga, so obviously that's why he's the main villain of this movie. Danny Moonstar's a Native American who lives with her tribe. They dropped the opening scene a couple weeks ago, and the opening scene is basically Demon Bear coming to kill most of her family in her tribe.
What's happening?
We have to run! As fast as we can!
Wait!
During this big crazy scene, you see her running out into the woods. Her father tells her, "You stay here, I have to go back for the others." There's a very important reason why she's so connected to the Demon Bear character. Because if you're a big Dragon Ball fan, you know all about how fusion works. Demon Bear is basically the fusion of a couple other tribe members that was created a long time ago, but then became twisted and evil. So Demon Bear, in the context of this movie, is connected to her tribe, which is why he's so fixated on her. It's Demon Bear trying to get revenge against her tribe for what happened to him. The comic book gets way crazier, but this is basically Marvel's first real big horror movie that they're trying to release. So for those of you that have wanted some scarier, darker MCU movies, this is about as close as we're going to get until we get to Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. Even though Scott Derrickson left that project and Sam Raimi came on, I'm really excited to see what Mr. Spider-Man is going to do with it. I'm happy to see him come back to big comic book movies in the Marvel Universe, especially now that Spider-Man is in the MCU. But I think that part of the reason why Scott Derrickson left is because he actually wanted to do a legit horror film with Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness, and Kevin Feige's like, nah dog, we're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be doing crazy horror in the MCU. Maybe some PG-13 horror, but not hard R horror. But the way they're talking about the New Mutants movie is a little bit like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest meets Nightmare on Elm Street, like Freddy Krueger versus the Dream Warriors, as they wind up in this false reality fighting this giant apparition, but in this case it's Demon Bear that they're fighting, like you literally see him fighting magic inside the limbo dimension. Most of you probably know the New Mutants characters through magic. Most of the fan art of New Mutants floating around the internet is of Magic in Colossus, just doing really crazy stuff. The really cool Easter egg here is because obviously this movie was made at Fox, where the Deadpool movies were made. She is actually the sister of Colossus, so you could think of her as the sister of this Deadpool version of Colossus. And sort of tying everything together, originally when they were making the movie, the director, Josh Boone, said that Fox actually wanted them to connect this much more to the mainstream X-Men movies than they had before. Originally, he said he wanted to do a horror film with these characters, but wasn't really thinking about the larger interconnected universe of the MCU or the Marvel movies or anything like that. Fox came along and said, please tie this more to the X-Men movies, but that was before the big Disney buyout. So he said there were early versions of the movie where the big mainstream X-Men characters actually showed up during the film, especially the ending. They were going to be tying it to the Hellfire Club. There were going to be a bunch of big stuff happening in the sequels with Mr. Sinister. But a lot of that actually changed through the process as they started the Fox-Disney buyout deal. That was all spinning up as they were editing the film. So what happened is when Fox started to get bought out by Disney, they said that you don't have to worry about that anymore. Kevin Feige, the Marvel people were like, just make your Marvel horror film, do whatever you want to with it. So if you heard about them doing reshoots a long time ago that never wound up happening, there were never supposed to be any reshoots. That was only when Fox was going to make them add a whole bunch of legit big hardcore X-Men stuff to the movie, which obviously is not the case now. I think the movie is actually better for it. Just let them tell this story with these characters, and then if Marvel and Kevin Feige want to bring them into the MCU later and reuse the characters, they can do whatever they want to. We have full-blown multiverse now. You have magic that can open portals between different dimensions, so it's not like you have to bend over backwards too much to explain how they could wind up in a future MCU project. There's a little more footage of Maisie Williams' Wolfsbane and some of the more recent footage, her going full werewolf, make all the Game of Thrones direwolf jokes that you want. She was actually working on this movie between some of the later seasons of Game of Thrones. That's how long ago they were filming this. What I'm most excited to see, though, is where they leave the movie, because the director said that it's relatively open-ended. There are supposed to be teasers for potential sequels because the director, Josh Boone, said that he hopes that Kevin Feige lets him make those sequels. I think a lot of that just depends on how successful this release is, because most places, theaters are still closed. Movie tickets will go on sale in a couple days as of me posting this video, so you'll just have to see if there's a theater near you that's going to be playing the movie. What I'm really hoping is, though, is that at least a couple weeks after the movie comes out in theaters, they do video on demand release either through Disney Plus or somewhere else, places where you can't go see it in a theater. You probably saw a couple weeks ago Disney made this big announcement about this special release for Mulan. What they're going to do is they're releasing it on Disney Plus September 4th. You have to pay extra money to get it, but you get to watch it, and if you want to see it in a theater and there are theaters near you that are open, they'll also be playing it in those theaters. So they're just giving you a lot more options about how you see that movie. So Disney is just going to gauge the Mulan release and see how it does financially and then use that for potential future movie releases. That's why a lot of people are wondering if Black Widow is going to get a hybrid release like that, where they release it partly on Disney Plus in places where theaters are closed, but in theaters where you actually can go see it in a theater. And let me know if you do plan on going to see New Mutants in a theater. Congratulations, Will Bates, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel Avengers giveaway video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone, click here for that new Hugh Jackman Wolverine documentary video, and click here for my brand new video on the Spider-Man 3 title. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.